Hi guys, I decided to do weekly videos on my new therapist. I see my new therapist on Fridays in San Francisco, and I decided to do like weekly videos about my progress, any struggles I have, or like what happens in my therapy, or you know, what we discuss. So this mainly will be about my therapy and what happens in therapy. Yeah, so I like my therapist a lot. He seems like a really nice guy, and I kind of feel comfortable with him. You know, sometimes we'll be laughing through the whole session. Not the whole session, but like laughing a little bit. And yeah, sometimes, our sessions are 15 minutes, but sometimes we'll go for an hour, And I really like the general idea. I like writing stuff in the journal that I can't express him, and he reads it, and I really like that. And right now, I am talking to quite a few students in the classroom. Just talk to them about the class, or like, how's the class going, or did you finish your project? So it's pretty well. Right now I'm talking to this girl. Me and this girl seem like we're kind of getting close. The other day we talked for like an hour, and the editing went out. That was kind of cool. Yeah, and my therapist asked me if I knew her name, and I said I didn't. And it's kind of strange because she knows my name, but I don't know her name. So one of my homework assignments this week is to get her name. Because he thinks if you have the person's name, you kind of care about the person, which kind of makes sense. I mean, why don't I know her name? I should know her name. She knows my name. So that's one of my homework assignments. Okay, another thing that we're working right now in therapy is I express to my therapist I like to speak to strangers, not be so nervous and anxious talking to strangers. And yeah, like if I'm in a movie line, for example, and I want to ask the stranger next to me what movie they're seeing, I'm usually too anxious or too nervous to ask them. And he told me to write down statements talking to a stranger, like, good positive statements. And I wrote down in my journal, here's my journal, I wrote down, what is the worst that can happen? They are a stranger. I probably won't see them again. It is okay to talk to strangers. The stranger might be happy that I talked to them. So those are just statements that I'm really supposed to tell myself when I get too anxious to talk to a stranger. And he wrote down, if I get really anxious, like for example, let's say I want to ask them what movie they're seeing, I could do this positive statement like the stranger might be happy that I talked to them. Or I might tell myself, they'll think that's a strange question. I should maybe say, it is okay to talk to strangers. Or I might say, they think I'm weird. I should say, they are a stranger, I probably won't see them again. And then I might say something like, I'm not going to ask them. And I should say, this is what my therapist wrote down, I'm not going to let the fear win. I'm going to ask them. So that's pretty good. So that's what I did this week. He told me that if there was a stranger I want to talk to, think of these suggestions and positive statements I could say to myself if I'm too anxious. And yeah, I did that today in class. This girl I wanted to say how was your week? And I was thinking of what statement to ask, and I said his statement, I'm not going to let the fear win, I'm going to ask them. So I asked her how her week was, and she said it was good. She said she did a short film in school, and then we talked about classes. So yeah, that was pretty cool. I think that worked really well, and yeah, I'm glad I did that. Alright, so here's my journal. Anything that is, any anxiety situations I have this week with strangers, talking to strangers, or anything anxiety provoking, I give to my therapist. I go, here you go, therapist. He reads it to himself. If he has questions, which he normally does, he likes to talk about it. He'll ask me questions. So it's kind of cool. I don't have to talk about it to him. If I'm too anxious, I just give him the journal, and he reads it every time. It works out pretty well. So I told my therapist I wanted to speak to strangers more. Like if they actually ask me a question or talk to me, I don't really say much. I kind of get nervous and anxious. I wish I could say much. Like for example, I was at Best Buy the other day, And this guy saw all these movies for $4.99, and he said to me, "Oh, cheap, $4.99." And I just said, "Oh yeah," that's all I said. I wish I could have said more, like, "Oh really," or like, "Oh that's cheap," or something different. But that's all I said was, "Oh yeah." Seems like when I get anxious or nervous, I just say, "Oh really," or "Oh yeah." I mean, like if a stranger talks to me, I don't really say much to them. I wish I could just say more. I just feel so anxious. So my therapist wants me to write examples of um, people in the past, strangers in the past that would speak to me and I didn't say much. She wants me to write it in this journal. I haven't done it yet, but I see him tomorrow, so I'll let you guys know what he says. Okay, so my therapist knows that I like making movies, and he suggested that I make a short film on a person who has social phobia, and at the end of the movie, they overcome it. He thinks that would be a breakthrough for me. But I'm not really sure about doing that because, I don't know, it'd be really hard for a character to be shy in the beginning of a movie and then at the end not be shy. Like, maybe a whole movie. You know, you see movies where people are shy in the beginning and they're not shy at the end. But for like a 5 or 10 minute, that's the kind of movies I make, are like 5 or 10 minutes long. It'd be really hard to do that, to show a character in a 5 or 10 minute movie be shy and then not be shy. I mean, I guess it's possible. I guess I could do it. But he thinks that would be a breakthrough for me.